let's go over the switch statement. So the syntax for it is going to be the following, where we have switch, we have some integer expression here, and then we have cases in here. Now this is pretty cool. We can have as many cases as we want, kind of like in if-else statement. You can have as many if-else as you want. This is just a more concise way of doing it if you want to be, or if you can be specific. Each of these are going to have a break after the statements that execute inside of each of these cases. So you can have as many statements as you want. You can even have nested, though I wouldn't recommend it. It gets a little bit messy, not messy. Well, technically messy because it's nested and it's messy. So yeah, it gets a little messy. And then we have this break right here. This break is super important. You're going to want to have it at the end of every statement. Otherwise, you're going to go through this thing called fall through. And fall through is essentially where you hit this case, and then you also go to the next case. Fall from this into this until you hit a break. Once you hit a break, you break out of it. So that's important. You also have a default statement. So after all the cases, if none of them were to execute, the default is kind of like an else statement. It's pretty handy to catch anything that might try to slip past you. Case is a constant expression. It must be an integer value followed by a semicolon, followed by a colon. The case statement marks the beginning of a section of statements. The program will then branch to each statement if the value of the switch expression matches that of a case expression. So remember, this is the switch expression, and then we're going to have constant case expressions inside of here. Break is optional, but remember, you need it to prevent fall through. Default is optional. It will also have fall through if there's any other statements, but you don't really need default. It's less necessary than the breaks inside of our actual case statements. But I would always have a break. Always, always, always. It's good practice to have breaks everywhere. As a matter of fact, in the last case statement, if you don't have a default, you don't technically need a break because it'll be the end of the switch statement, but like I said, you should always have breaks. You might be asking yourself, where would I use a switch statement? It seems like if statements are a little bit easier to implement. Well, like I said, if you want something to be a little bit more concise, and if you want to have like a simple menu, you could use a switch statement. With all these different cases in here, and you could have like methods inside of here, which basically goes to bigger parts of the program, but we'll talk more about that later. Just know that it is useful if you use it correctly. That's pretty much it. Let's look at a quick example. So we have int x is equal to 10. So we are passing 10 inside of here, inside of this x. We have case 1, case 2, and then our default case. And if we run this, it's going to hit our default case because remember, this is our integer expression passed in. It doesn't match any of these or either of these because we only have 1 or 2. So x is not 1 or 2. Now let's say we change this to a 1. We are going to fall into case 1, and then we are going to see x is 1. That's what it's going to print. Now remember, if we don't have this break, it's going to fall through to case 2 until it hits the break. So like I said in the previous one, it printed out x is 1, but since we don't have a break, it should print out x is 1, x is 2 because of the fall through. That's pretty much it for switch statements. That's all you gotta know. If you want more switch statements, well, this is pretty much the only section I'm gonna do for now, but if you want more examples, they'll be in the playlist, link below the like button in the C++ playlist. Check it out. Also leave a like. Also leave a comment if you liked, or if you have any questions.